Please join us in congratulating 2015 Distinguished Alumna, Lynn Pippenger.
Good evening. I was scared before I got up here, and now I've got to follow these four guys and that show. Well, let me start by saying this is a great honor, and I'm very surprised by it, really. And I will go on with my little speech here, and we'll see where we go with this. Let me start by explaining I am a numbers person and a projects person, not the philosophical type. And I've had trouble pondering and putting into words the topic that they gave me, which is how has USF been significant or impacted my life? When I was growing up in St. Pete, and some of you didn't hear some of my stories that have been all over the place in the last year, but I was fortunate to have parents who insisted that I had to give part of my allowance at the age of 4 or 5 to charity. I had to save some of it, and I could possibly spend some of it if I had to. I also had neighbors who taught me the basics of bookkeeping and following the stock market. Those came invaluable as the years went by. By the time I was in high school, they said that a bit about that. Okay, they do part of my speech, and then I don't know what they've done. But I'll say when I added computers onto that list, that became a turning point, since that required that I had to go take some programming classes. And that led to spending the better part of the next 16 years being a very part-time, one of those commuter students that you guys talked about, at St. Pete JC, now known as St. Petersburg College, and USF St. Pete. But I succeeded and was accepted into the USF Executive MBA program way over here in Tampa. And as Les and I will confirm, it took me almost 2 hours to get here this afternoon. And it took you how long? An hour and 45 minutes or so? They keep moving it because it keeps taking longer to get here. My college education taught me a lot of things, like the formal names. Now remember, I was going to school and I was already working at Raymond James and had been for quite a while. My college education taught me a lot of things, like the formal names and theories of the processes that I did at work, and to see both sides of the picture and issue as to objectives and risk, and not just how much it cost. More importantly, it certainly taught me to be very time conscious, very focused, and very organized. In order to work more than 40 hours a week, go to class a couple of evenings a week, and get my homework, inbox, and housework done, and still have time to build miniature rooms which didn't make it into the video. That was before email, internet, social media, tracking live thunderstorms, and nonstop sports started. So I think you had more time back then, I'm not sure. Having gone to college working part-time, having gone to college part-time while working, that's it, I encouraged others to do the same for their undergrad and MBA programs. And probably there's a couple of dozen RJers who were the recipients of my prodding over the years. Certainly, USF has been very significant in my life this past year. Yep, it gave me more projects to do, but they were all good projects. I have gone back through a lifetime of stuff and surfaced a lot of stuff I'd forgotten I'd done. And all this made me realize I'd done a lot over and above all I had accomplished in my 43 years at Raymond James. Here are a couple of things I found I did, looking back on my life. In the early 1970s, I worked on a committee and helped write the legislative proposal to integrate economic education into Florida schools, grades K through 12, which was adopted by the Florida legislature in 1975. Florida's adoption of this initiative led to the creation of the Florida Council on Economic Education, together with 4 centers, including the Stavros Center at USF. to train K through 12 teachers in economics, entrepreneurship, personal finance, and the free enterprise system. In the late 1970s, an economics professor at Buffalo State College was introducing a computerized stock market game. Could ask you, how many of you ever played the stock market game while you were in high school around here? Almost everybody in Florida, I think, did at some time. When Tom James heard about this, he immediately invited the professor to visit Raymond James. Now, getting somebody from Buffalo to Florida in January wasn't too tough. I was tasked with introducing this game to the Pinellas County school system, and in about a year later, I was invited to do presentations at the state teachers conference. And the stock market game, as far as I know, is still going strong, reaching thousands of Florida students each semester. All of this led to a group from USF, Al Austin, Frank Marsani, Don Fell, and myself, and 2 others from Raymond James, being invited to a dinner at the governor's mansion to accept a scroll and plaque on behalf of Raymond James. After finishing my MBA, I was on the College of Business Economics and Finance Advisory Committee. And one of the things that they started was an economics club at Tampa Bay. And it lasted about 2 years because we couldn't find many economists that wandered around in Tampa Bay. So we missed you, George, somewhere. But one of the good outcomes of that group was the eventual approval and start of the Student Managed Investment Fund that very successfully manages a small portion of the USF Endowment Fund. Oh, they didn't put anything in there about my going to Colorado for 3 years. Okay, I had never lived north of Ulmerton Road in St. Petersburg. I moved not to Denver, I moved up to Evergreen, which is at 8,000 feet. And I live in the high point of Pinellas, which is 45 feet. Okay. It was an adventure. It was an adventure learning how to drive in it, too. But anyway, when I came back from that stint, I was invited to be part of the College of Business's advisory board, and this gave me some more things to do, such as be a finance professor for a day, and I assisted in the and don't get any ideas, Uday. I assisted with the preparation of the colleges and the accounting school's accreditation in 1997, so pretend you didn't hear that one. While none of these events were perhaps individually significant, but they did influence and impact many students over the years, and to me they were worthwhile. And we all know the value of our USF education and how much it has helped each of us to be successful. So I'd like to strongly encourage you to think about what you can do to give back to USF if you haven't already, because they've got lots of things. We've got the football team, yay. But they've said that I don't want you to move from Raymond James Stadium. I mean, I have a vested interest over here. Some of you already know that I grew up in a neighborhood of 20 boys. Well, that helped. It never bothered me to have to deal with all of these guys that I had to work with at Raymond James and in the brokerage industry, because usually when I went to a meeting, there was 250 guys and 3 women. Anyway. Hey, we succeeded there. One of them was the chairperson of the SEC for a while, and the other one was, I think, the head of FINRA. So I was in good company. But my family and my neighbors instilled in me many values, and chief among them was that girls can accomplish much and fulfill their dreams and ambitions through education, hard work, and determination. And I think my family would be proud of me for keeping up what appears to be a family tradition. While researching my ancestors, all of whom came to America in the 1630s and 40s from England, I discovered a branch of my family, the St. John family. Well, that helped me understand why my grandfather's middle name was St. John. I thought that was a little strange. The St. John family migrated from Connecticut to Buffalo in 1810 and then on to Cleveland and Willoughby in the 1830s. One cousin, 3 generations back, and her husband were very wealthy and executed a will in 1891, leaving their entire estate to establish a girls' school that would teach girls to be self-sufficient and self-reliant. The couple, Wallace and Margaret St. John Andrews, they died in 1899 in New York City. And since the school did not exist at the time of their death, their will was contested all the way up through the U.S. Supreme Court until it was declared legal in 1909. Today, the Andrews School is in Willoughby, Ohio. It started in 1910 and today is known as Andrews Osborne Academy. When I discovered all of this back in about 1996, I thought, what a wonderful way to leave your legacy by establishing a school to educate young scholars. As the years have gone by and my investments, especially that Raymond James stock, have grown, and I have entrusted a major part of my legacy with USF. And now in the tradition of my cousin, Margaret St. John Andrews, I'm living my impossible dream, as I also have a school, the Lynn Pippenger School of Accountancy.